Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Left is Law, devoted leftist resistance delivering the daily knowledge you need to be informed and create change. I'm Ryan. Let's break this down. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know we are all officially available as a podcast on the link below. If you're listening on the podcast, then thanks for tuning in. Please follow, subscribe, share, and we should be making our way onto Spotify soon, so I will let you know when we are up there as well. Earlier this week, a bill was introduced in the House of Representatives which would punish association with Antifa activities with a jail punishment of up to 15 years. The new so-called Unmasking Antifa Act, introduced by Representative Dan Donovan of New York, imposes penalties on anyone who injures, oppresses, threatens, or intimidates another person while wearing a mask. This is an extremely vague piece of legislation, and its target is clear. The phrase injures, oppresses, threatens, or intimidates, especially in context of Antifa, has very clear and easy to understand context of how it would be applied. We know for a fact that there are plenty of white individuals who feel oppressed, especially by those who are members of things like Antifa. So this isn't just about specifically injuring others or oppressing others, or as we see it gets even worse, threatening or intimidating. I mean, that could mean literally anything. Now carries a jail punishment of up to 15 years should this law pass. That's ridiculous, and it is clearly meant to target a certain group of people who have a certain political ideology and are trying to stand up against what they deem as unjust. Now look, even if you think that Antifa is bad, even if you're a person who believes in the current administration, who thinks that Antifa is ridiculous, whatever it is that you think, if you are pro-democracy in any way, shape, or form, you're probably pro having people be able to speak their minds. This is a clear attempt to not allow Antifa gatherings anymore, to basically stop leftist resistance right at its root. And we should be scared of that. This law models similar laws that were used to punish the KKK, except apparently the group that we're now worried about is Antifa and not the KKK. Now, on one hand, you may say this law is obviously unconstitutional. I mean, the fact that it is a law targeting a specific group of people is literally in the title. But, of course, what is constitutional is entirely dependent on our Supreme Court. And with a 6-3 conservative court now led by Brett Kavanaugh, should he get through, we might be looking at a serious problem with laws like this. I mean, we know that conservatives are 100% in the name of justifying the name of security. They will find the justifications in the Constitution should they want to. So whether this law passes or not is fairly irrelevant. The fact is that this is a direct threat by the U.S. government against myself and an entire block of leftists. And most importantly, the goal of the bill, or at least what it accomplishes, is the further emboldenment of white supremacists and fascists who now feel literally protected, and are in fact protected, by U.S. legislation should this pass. And either way, it signals very much where the culture war is today. Conservatives are willing to take out entire blocks of leftists, attempt to stop their public gatherings, put them in jail when they do speak, and there is a very clear system of deviation and punishment. Should you deviate from the way that we think this American society looks and ought to look, then there will be punishment. And this has always been the case for, most regimes throughout history. But this is, of course, particularly frightening in that who it's targeting, the ideology it's targeting, and the way in which it seeks to suppress any form of resistance, even in a world where the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency are all held by conservatives. Instead of being happy with the power they've already cemented, they're now seeking to only further cement that power and kill any resistance. This, to me, is ironic. Can we talk about what anti-fascism is supposed to mean? Fascism, we used to have this idea that it was associated with things like Nazi Germany, with things like Italy, Mussolini. But I think that part of the damning components of this is that when we talk about those things in history, we look at them as something that is A, so far away timeline-wise, but B, so far away action-wise, as in we don't see the parallels between Nazi Germany and Mussolini. People tend to forget that fascism does not happen overnight, but instead it is the slow eroding of democratic institutions, which is precisely what we're seeing now. Certain countries get this. Croatia, go Croatia in the World Cup, they have a literal anti-fascism day once a year to not forget this. And again, anti-fascism should not be part of an extremist ideology. It is part of everyday democracy. Voting is an anti-fascist action. Now, I'm guessing they're not going to put anyone away for 15 years for voting for Donald Trump, but that is, in fact, in its own way, an anti-fascist action. Although voting for Trump is fascist, the mere idea of voting itself is anti-fascist. And anything that promotes the idea of democratic institutions, of power of the people, of not oppressing entire groups of people, that is all a component of anti-fascism. And it isn't something that we should be afraid of, that we should label as a group to destroy. It is precisely the types of values that we should be standing up for. And it's not just the United States that this is happening right now. Most of Europe, we are seeing a slow deterioration too. I've covered this a little bit in some of my other podcasts and videos, but we know that Italy is literally about to start a registry for the Roma people who were executed during World War II, and especially in particular by the Nazis. They're a group that's still oppressed in Italy, and will probably only see further oppression with the new right-wing group that's in. Germany has complete control over Angela Merkel, and the conservatives there are really putting it to her to stop immigration. And so all of a sudden there are less and less immigrant hubs in Europe, in spite of the fact that nothing has actually changed. There is no increase in crimes. There's no reason to believe that immigrants are dangerous. The only thing that has changed is right-wing momentum, because everything in politics tends to work as a pendulum. And right now we are on the right side of that swing. But the shitty thing is, the right side of the swing is always trying to use steps to cement itself, to concrete itself, to make sure that it holds that power when it has it. And should it do so, we can look at a very scary world, because people are quick to act and quick to embrace fascism when they truly believe that it's something that's good for them. And you can see that that is happening in Germany, that is happening in Italy, and that is happening in the United States. It's happening all over the world. People can be convinced that certain groups of people are bad, that they should be scapegoated, and they will be willing to throw those people under the bus. It doesn't matter what happens to those people, right? Look at the people that support the immigration policies we have here. My own family, right? They think that, well, people need to come here lawfully, and if you can't, that's too bad for you. We have our own problems to deal with. They don't realize the rate at which people are dying around the world and how dangerous other places are. They just want to keep it at an arm's distance instead of doing something to actually resolve it. And that is what Antifa is about. It's doing something to resolve the world's problems, to recognize that we are all people and that we all need help, and that we should all be working together in order to create change and make a better world. So when we look back to things like World War II, to the rise of fascism in history, we realize that this is precisely the eroding of democratic institutions and liberty that you were warned about. The question is whether or not we're going to do something about it. There are more and more steps every single day. And that will probably continue to happen so long, at least, as Trump is president, and if not longer. If Trump should win re-election, if another conservative should win, we have to keep our eyes out. It takes one economic downturn, one terrorist attack, one incident when we have already started to break down these barriers for us to go full speed through some serious and devastating consequences. I want to give you all a little bit of lighter content today. So if you'd like to go to the link in the description at boingboing.net, you can see a video of a man in Seattle wearing a Black Patriot shirt trying to destroy an Antifa sign. He folds it in half several times. A bunch of people are giving him shit. You just have to watch it. And that'll either be in the description or the link below. So thanks for tuning in today, and check back again tomorrow with Left is Law. Thank you.